The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app, use promo code RTRS, and just bet against the Sixers. You only have one more chance. Touchstone Electric Fireplaces from Touchstone Home Products and Accident. Get yours at zerodeadbirds.com. Use promo code TTP for 15% off. And Kornblau and Kornblau, Adam Kornblau, the official law firm of The Process. Well, look, they tried. Sixers go down 3-0 to the Celtics. Sixers Adam will join us very soon. Will become Rockets Adam. And if you're on the YouTube, you'll see this now. The T-shirt for Bark in the Park is done. Thank you, Michael Pfeffer, a long-time Ricky listener who did a fucking great job. He one time drew me and Rebel into a coloring book once. He did. It flames and skulls and dogs. Go to rightstorikisanchez.com, sign up for our Bark in the Park team. As long as you raise $50, which is easy because you raise $25, I think, just for signing up, you'll get a T-shirt, and you don't have to pick it up. We'll send it to you this year. So we have until October 24th to raise $10,000 this year. I know we can do it. Bark in the Park virtual. There won't be a gathering. We'll all run on October 24th. You don't even have to run. Nobody's going to check. And I wanted to send love out to our very good friend and honorary Ricky member, Amos Lee, as his uncle, Bobby Black, his mom's brother, passed away this week. He did a very nice tribute on his Instagram Live the other night, and we love Amos, and we love Amos's family. So we wish them all the best, always. Love you, man, and thinking about your family. Without any further ado, the aforementioned Amos and the Chef.
We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
Welcome to the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast, along with a guy who is once again in the dark. It's metaphoric, the darkness of his soul. That is Mike Levin.
Bad team.
Yeah. Do you find any? I can't even believe that I'm asking you this. Do you find any comfort? Because I did a little bit in the fact I would have been embarrassed if they came in and laid down, and it sort of seemed like they were going to, and they didn't. I took a little bit of, I'm glad that they didn't. I don't know. As embarrassing as Game 2 was, I was glad that they seemed to have a little bit of pride in play in this one.
Oh, they definitely played hard, and good for them. I personally feel nothing from that. I don't know why I would feel better if they played hard.
You're the best now. I love this era of
the
you.
Team sucks. They're a bad team. They're poorly constructed. And even though they know that they're poorly constructed, they still refuse to do the things that would at least mitigate that poor construction. Horford and Tobias were combined 0 for 7 from 3 tonight, and neither of them had made a 3 through 3 games of this series. Embarrassing. I mean, they're an embarrassing team. They shot 29.5% from the field. They shot 9 of 39 from 3, which was 23.1%.
At least they shot 40 of them.
They didn't really turn the ball over much, and they absolutely hit the offensive glass hard, mostly because they missed so many shots that they were bound to accidentally get a couple offensive rebounds. Tobias Harris especially was hysterically useless with the ball in his hands.
And by the way, this is the game. This is the game to win. Like when Jason Tatum doesn't play for a quarter and a half, and Boston shoots not as poorly, but pretty poorly.
Yeah, they didn't shoot well either. Yeah, and the Sixers didn't give up. Boston had 3 offensive rebounds. They still managed to get a lot of loose balls, but they didn't get the offensive rebounds today. So they did clean things up. Like, things were cleaned up in a lot of ways. But this is just, again, an indictment on the team that was built. What an embarrassing showing. What an embarrassing group of people that have been, collected together. Just shocking stuff. We can call out some good things that they did. I think Shake had a couple nice plays, a couple awful ones, a couple embarrassing ones. He needs to learn how to play defense and not just get pushed off his spot every time. Josh had a couple excellent plays. Some huge. I'm surprised that he was 3 for 11 from 3 because it seemed like he had a bunch of big shots. But he was 5 of 17 from the field, which is
shockingly played. Has not been as bad as he was in the seeding games.
No, he hasn't been as bad. That's true. The bar was low, but he has covered it. He played great defense on Tatum and a couple other plays tonight. I thought he had 2 really, really huge end of shot clock possessions on defense. Where he saw the clock was running out, knew that the guy would not be able. He was not on the ball. Knew that the guy would not be able to pass it in time, so he helped and caused a couple tough shots, and that was great. They're just really, really bad. And Embiid played well sometimes, and he did a couple nice things, and he had like they had a 4-on-1 against Embiid, and he broke it up. Shocking play. Josh, I also mentioned the clear path foul, which was a total joke of a play, just a really stupid, boneheaded play.
I actually thought I don't know if it was stats wise, but I thought all around it was probably the best game that Embiid played.
Yeah, I mean, he got the line a lot. Horrible pass at the end to go cross court when they doubled him to go over Marcus Smart's head. I mean, what a total idiot decision that was. Had a bunch of guys open and decided to make the hardest one instead of passing to the open guy and then them making one more pass, but he's not a smart passer. He had 1 assist. A lot of that was because they didn't hit any shots, so that's tough to get assists when they're not hitting shots. But he also was, again, very reluctant to pass from the post, and it should be easy. You dump it down to the post. When you can get it there off an entry pass, God, hallelujah when they do. What a nice treat. They double. It should be a quick pass out to the open shooter. And Embiid is reluctant to do that, so he turns the ball over. He, either gets called for traveling or an offensive foul or just throws up a loogie sometimes. It's not Embiid's fault, but he could be better for sure. And if this is on his back, he needs to do better than 7 of 20. And letting Cantor walk into open looks, letting Tice get to the rim a lot. It's not Embiid's fault, but I just want to blame everybody because it's embarrassing. I mean, Horford was. I did think they played pretty good defense. I thought they helped each other out well. They still don't communicate on pick and rolls. They don't. How often do you see 2 guys going after the same guy and leaving one guy wide open? A lot of times that guy is either Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown, which is stupid. That's dumb. But just they have never communicated well on defense. But the effort was certainly there tonight. But ultimately, these are predominantly dumb players with limited skill sets that should not have ever been put on the same team together.
Well, so I'm going to have to take a couple of days in between pods and really figure out what my move is on this pod now with you like this, because this is a different thing for me. You're just scorched earth, and it's new for me. When we're going scorched earth, it's normally when it's against Jerry Colangelo or Dave Silver or something like that.
Sure. Well, it is. It still is. This is all Jerry's fault. We're not going to fucking dial it back to Hinkie, but we had a GM here who was executing on a plan, and then one player that he was forced to draft that he shouldn't have drafted anyway, it's his fault also, got into some trouble. The league fucking saddles us with Jerry Colangelo, and then he forces his kid down our throats. Then his kid fucking pulls his pants down in public, and then they decide, let's keep his kids' friends there still. Let's keep his kids' friends around to run the site. They seem like nice fellas. And now those are the guys running the team. Jerry's kids' friends. What a fucking joke. What a fucking joke of a franchise. Everyone should be still very embarrassed. I need a public apology from everyone in the organization.
So, about being embarrassed. So, Mike O'Connor wrote a long article on rightsrickysanchez.com today. By the way, he noted Tobias Harris's younger brother followed him today. And he mentioned that in the Ricky Slack. And I told him, there's no paywall to hide behind. Your takes are public for everyone now. Called Tobias Harris a losing player who isn't worth 40% of his salary. But
yeah, I mean, sometimes guys miss shots, and he clearly was not feeling it tonight. He passed up open looks a lot. But he worked in the offensive glass. 8 offensive rebounds is nothing to sneeze at, for sure. And he tried on defense, absolutely. But ultimately,
if his average annual value is $16 million, or $36 million, if we say what Tobias Harris is worth in real basketball terms, he's like a $12 to $14 million player, like Gallinari making $16 million or whatever. But the first thing he mentioned was I think if people aren't super into it like we are, when we talk about Elton Brand, who should lose his job too, unless whoever gets hired as president of basketball operations decides that he wants him to work for him. I don't care about it. I like people like Elton, and if they want,
I like a lot of these guys.
I don't.
I like a lot of people on the Sixers, a lot of people that work for the Sixers, and I think ultimately, if we want our team to win, we shouldn't just be like, hey, hire some nice guys that have said sweet things to us.
I agree with you. But what I'm saying is that it is the entirety. We cannot allow them to half-ass this. Like, the whole front office has to go. Everybody has to go. And
I don't think that they are. I think almost certainly that they will.
I actually disagree.
Disgusting.
I think the only question is whether they get demoted to an embarrassing level where they don't have any input, and just so they can keep their job.
Sure.
But
a tradition unlike any other for Sixers front office staff. Tony DeLeo, Doug Collins, all still
Rod
collecting
Thorne.
an advisor. Jerry Colangelo, Rod Thorne, God bless them all. Thank you guys for
they
all the
all
help.
got to be fired. Rucker's got to be fired. Ned Cohen's got to be fired. Like one of the things that should be very clear about is that one of the
just demolish the building.
The new one in Camden.
Sorry,
people need jobs. You got to build a new one.
That's great. Would love it.
One thing that you have to know is that one of the reasons they picked Elton is because it gave the other guys cover, because people like Elton, and he was one of the ones that they could give the job to, that because everybody liked within that group, who all applied for it anyway. Eversley applied for it. Rucker applied. They all applied for it. They could give it to him, and everybody would feel okay with it. But everybody is culpable here in that front office. We cannot allow, if you're listening to this, you can't. And I understand your bloodlust for Elton. And Elton will find a job elsewhere. Trust me, he'll be fine.
I don't have bloodlust for Elton. I don't have bloodlust.
Oh, no.
for
I'm saying not you.
specifically.
I'm saying listener. I'm talking to the listener. There's a lot of bloodlust for Elton. There's bloodlust for Elton and Brett. I'm just saying it's got to be everybody. Don't let that satisfy you. Don't,
No.
Originally, I thought they were just going to be able to fire Brett, and that would satiate everyone. But it's got to be everybody. It's got to be everyone. They're all responsible. It's got to be everyone. And not even not even basketball ops. There are some people that dip their toe into basketball ops that maybe should be out of the fucking building too. But
Scott O'Neal still collects
he
a paycheck.
does. I don't know what he gets paid, but I'm sure it's a rather large paycheck.
Hey man, he earns it.
Well,
Look at what they're doing. I do think that Brett. I saw this from our friend Sohill on Twitter. Did you think that Brett is playing Horford with Embiid at the end of games as a sort of like a middle finger on his way out? Here you go.
No, I think he'll do that. I don't doubt that he'll do middle fingers. I just think that he wants players in there that he can trust on defense, and I think he probably thinks he can trust Horford. I think he's just thinking like that. I don't think I think there's some things that Brett could do that are middle fingery in terms of quotes and things like that. But I think in the game, he's just trying to win. I truly believe that. Before we've had so many fantastic emails. I feel like we need to read some. By the way, Adam, who will be joining us from college, he's now part of college, Sixers Adam. But before we get to him,
we can't save emails for the 9 months of offseason.
Well, no,
that we
I
might
think
have?
some of them are pertinent to right now. Yeah. I mean,
okay.
if you want to talk about this game, feel free. But I feel like the emails are better and more fun. And
as painful as it is, I do, we're not going to be talking about game for a while.
Yeah.
So I don't mind emptying the clip of the final game.
Then fine, we can do that. But before we do, our just incredible sponsor, Touchstone Electric Fireplaces, Touchstone Home Products in Exton, PA. I got a tweet today. Hey, I live in LA. Can I order a Touchstone Electric Fireplace out there? Like, yeah, they'll fucking ship it to you. They'll get to you in a few days. Come on. I want to talk to you today about the Sideline Series. I don't talk about the price with Touchstone Electric Fireplaces very often. The Sideline Series, if you want to get a recessed electric fireplace, so in your wall, the Sideline Series is the way you want to go for two big reasons. First of all, price, great price, or three reasons. Price, quality, and the amount of sizes they have. So it goes all the way from 28 inches to 100 inches. Get this, Mike. Get a 50-inch Sideline Series Touchstone electric fireplace for $499.
It's pretty good. I'd be interested in. There are a lot of fires in California right now, so the idea of getting a fireplace out here, I respect it.
Well, this one's not going to set. It's not dangerous. It's not real fire.
No, that's not what I was. It's very hot.
Right,
it's hot all the time.
Well,
but the aesthetics are just as good.
They're incredible. You can get a 50-inch one right now for $499. You're talking 40 to 60 inch with a 50-inch one, the 60-inch one. Throw it under a flat screen. Frank from Touchstone was telling me they've seen 36-inch ones in bathrooms. And what I'm thinking, you're not in the Northeast. I'm in the Northeast. By the time December comes around, you get out of the shower and it's cold and you have the cold tile floor. Have a nice some warmth from the Touchstone electric fireplace in there. Come on, man. Over 900 reviews on the Sideline Series on Amazon, 4.6 out of 5 stars. No smell, no mess, and no dead birds in the chimney, because there is no fucking chimney because it's an electric fireplace. And you can plug it in, you can hardwire it as well. They're willing to answer all of your questions about installation. Installation's easy, but they're there to answer all of your questions for the electric fireplaces at all. Go to zerodeadbirds.com. That is zerodeadbirds.com. Use the email, use the chat, call them, and use code TTP for 15% off at zerodeadbirds.com. And go to the website, look at right on the front page, look at the gallery for the Sideline Series. It's awesome. $500. No smell, no dead birds. No smell. Touchstone electric fireplaces. Thank you. What else do you want to empty? What else in the clip? I'm not eager to get to the emails. I mean, was there anything else this game in particular? We haven't talked about the matching outfits for the Sixers coaching staff, I don't think.
Yeah. Look great, guys.
Untucked shirts.
Good use of funds. Horford getting beat backdoor by Jalen on the
man.
first play. It was a real beautiful little opener to that.
Well, it was two
game.
Jalen dunks, right? Were the first two buckets, I think. And
yeah, he had many. I think he had 3 dunks in the first quarter. Pretty cool. They're just a dumb team. I hadn't quite factored that in. I knew going into the season, you're gonna have a tough time shooting, and not too many guys who can penetrate on this team. But that's tough. But I think how big they are on defense and how in transition they'll be tough to stop with Ben and a couple guys filling the lane and just length. I thought that'd be enough, but I hadn't quite figured out that there'd be so many dumb fucking plays all the time. I just hadn't quite factored that in. And it's not just turnovers. It's just clock awareness. It's just where to put the ball in someone's hands. And maybe some of that is depending on guys like Shake who are still inexperienced, and Matisse who is so nervous out there on offense.
Yep.
It's very, very sad for him. Just a lot of really stupid stuff. The Embiid turnover at the end was stupid. The flailing shot that he was just only going for the call was stupid. But there were a number of other ones. Really, that clear path foul was so stupid. And Shake fouling, who was it? Jalen. By just getting enough of him to foul. Like this idea, like these dumb, pointless fouls that are either a gift for an N1 or they're in a tough spot and you're fouling them when just straight up defending without fouling would force them to take a difficult shot. But they're just like all these gifts. And sometimes it's the refs giving them bullshit. Like Al didn't foul Jalen on that 3, and that's an absolute gift to them. There's a couple other ones that Embiid got whistled for that were bullshit and some whatever. But that happens to every team. But there's just so many. You watch smart teams put the ball in the right place. And the Sixers just do the opposite.
One thing that I noticed watching the Celtics, because they always are hunting them, and like it's an annoying thing about the NBA in general, but it really makes me realize how bad the Sixers are at it. Furk, maybe a little bit, is hunting fouls at the 3-point line. Redick was sort of spastic when he did it, but at least
spastic.
He tried it sometimes. There's nobody on the Sixers that really even tries to do that. Except for Cork.
Definitely Cork. Shake will sometimes. Embiid should have. He got somebody to bite tonight and just kept driving by. That was stupid. Wow. Just bad. Burks had a couple nice plays, but he had, like at the end when he was just going at the rim and taking it to Cantor. I'm trying to think. I mean, it was nice to see. So I watched this game. Did you think that they were going to win?
In the middle of the fourth quarter, I did think they were going to win. Yeah.
Okay.
Did you?
I didn't. I had to admit, midway through the fourth, like Stan and people online were talking about how hard the Sixers were playing all game, and I was like, no, fuck that. They're stupid, whatever. And then towards the end, they really were turning up the defensive intensity. And I with about 4 minutes left, I was like, okay, I'm happy for them. I'm happy that they are playing hard for them.
I can't stand Stan Van Gundy, by the way. Shut
I don't mind
fuck
as much
up.
as you do.
Jesus Christ. Get it. You want the job.
But for most of the game, I didn't think they were going to win. But for most of the game, I was watching them just hurt Boston physically. And that at least appealed to me from just a pure masochistic way. Like, let's injure ourselves. Let's injure some guys. I saw Boston having to get rubbed down on the sidelines. That was nice. Just hurt some people. Just go in there and just be violent. Because if bully ball isn't going to work, at least it can injure someone, hurt somebody, get them to bleed or something. Whatever. After all this, we may as well fucking leave some blood on the floor.
Mike, are you in a closet right now as you record this podcast?
What the fuck?
What the fuck is going on?
Why is it sharp?
It is.
What look are you going for here?
So
the look is protest.
This is what rock bottom looks like? Mike sitting in pitch black with long hair for some reason?
That's right.
So
it's fucking perfect.
Good
to see you, bud.
So
what a fun surprise.
So, all right. So Sixers Adam texted me earlier that the move into college was too much for him. He couldn't commit tonight. Is that okay? And I'm like, yeah. So I'm like, what am I going to do? Well, it could just be me and Mike. Or I shot Sharp a text and I was like, do you want to surprise Mike? But
insult to injury, having to see this fucking grinning doofus on my fucking screen.
I couldn't resist. I will tell you, I actually have a lot of work to do tonight. And Spike hit me up and I was like, this is an opportunity to join in the fun on America's happiest podcast.
Oh my God.
As the Sixers just fucking full-blown torpedo, most depressing team in the league, I couldn't resist saying hi to you in person on video here. So, it's great.
So the best part is, so Mike, if you're listening to this or if you're watching on YouTube, you saw this whole thing unfold, is that Mike doesn't look at the video screen as we're recording. So that's That's why.
Well, and Spike was like trying to signal to me, and I was like, "What the fuck is happening here? What are we supposed to do?"
So Mike's is talking, and Sharp is staring, and I'm just trying to, I'm just trying to like make the indication to Sharp that Mike is not looking at you, like he cannot see you, and that's why I just went up.
That's a tough thing to say.
It was great. I was just like, I guess I'm not supposed to do anything, and I'm just gonna watch the Clippers game for a couple minutes. But here we are. This is we've been building to this day. I feel like this is a really poetic rock bottom for you guys because number one, Stan Van Gundy is announcing, longtime friend of the podcast, and narrating your downfall. Number two, Jason Tatum is just fucking dominating you guys and like over and over again punking you. And then
he was bad tonight, though. He was 6 of 19. He was bad.
But he's still so clearly the best player in the series and is probably like better than Embiid at this point. And it's tough. This is all the karmic payback that you have been waiting for, that I've been waiting for, really.
Sure,
and then
sure.
most importantly, I think like the consensus around the NBA is that you guys have officially turned into the Wall and Beal Wizards. I think Kyle Neubeck explicitly wrote that the other day.
Yeah.
And Mike, if you recall, I actually like texted you that like a year and a half ago, and you hit me back like, ha ha ha, funny. I was being dead serious at the time that you guys were a team that like talked a lot, never really backed it up. And now here we are. But Mike, you're actually looking like really depressed now.
Can you see me?
Yes.
Well, not
You can?
see you. I mean, you can see like the outline of you. That's all I can see.
I saw him just like literally hang his head as I was saying that. So I feel bad. Well, I don't want to get too real here.
But Sharp, you have to admit, part of you is a little disappointed. It has to be. Like, if you have a soul, is a little disappointed at how you would have much rather we failed on our own merits rather than being tortured by like wrong decision after wrong decision. Like, that's not fair.
Yeah. I mean, it is kind of funny that you went from Hinkie to basically like a series of Ernie Grunfelds. Pretty entertaining outcome. And I like you guys and all the Sixers fans that I met through this podcast. So I do feel bad that it's like gotten this dark this quickly. It's kind of shocking. I guess I never really believed in Ben. I feel bad that it's working out for Embiid the way it is. But it's funny, like Ben Golliver and I, we were recording our podcast this afternoon, and we started with 20 minutes on the Sixers. And in the back of my mind, I even said at one point, like, I don't know if we should be going this hard on this team. Like, they're playing an hour from now, they could win. And then I said, like, there's no way this will blow back on us because the team is just like that checked out at this point, and nothing they did in Game 3 would have changed where they are. And yeah, it's pretty crazy that this is sort of where things stand now.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, because I mean, I think now that like the Warriors have the number 2 pick, there are going to be a lot of hypotheticals thrown out, like trade wise and whatnot. I heard a Ben Simmons Wolves trade thrown together. Which of those two guys do you think will bring back more on the trade market?
If they were to decide to trade them,
I wouldn't.
No. I think. Look, I believe they're going to fire everybody, and I believe unless they bring in some GM who is pretty cocksure, that GM's going to come in and do whatever he can to salvage those two guys. I believe that's what'll happen. But if that person came in, like let's say we got Hinkie 2, because I think Hinkie 2 could make a decision like that, whatever, right? It's interesting because they are both like. I think you could find 4 or 5 teams for both of them that would be very interested, right? Like the question is like the draft picks. If you're keeping Embiid, you can't trade Ben Simmons for draft picks. You can't do it. Like he's going to be 27 next year. The rest of I think they'll be able to get rid of Horford. I don't think so for Tobias, but you're talking about a team of players in their prime. And Embiid, if he's the one that you're keeping, you need players for now. You really do. I don't know. I think with Embiid, all you need is a good guard. I just think you need a good guard. The question is does one of those teams have a good guard they want to trade you for Ben Simmons?
So what do you do with a good guard and Embiid, though? Because he's not really like a pick and roll guy necessarily. Are you just thinking that a good guard who scores like that can space the floor for him and give him more room to operate?
Well, both. I think he'd be a great pick and pop guy. Like I'm a big, I know everybody's like doesn't like mid-range jumpers, but like 13 to 16 feet with Embiid, he's got a great stroke. He's a great free throw shooter. And if you,
I wish he did that more. I wish he did that more than the threes.
It's only inefficient if you can't make the shot at a high rate. And I think he can make the shot at a high rate. And I think it makes him really hard to defend. I think that makes it hard to defend. He's not a pick and roll guy. I mean, he's a
right.
So, but if you could do that, you can play 4 out. Like you can just play 4 out if you have a guard who, and at the end of games, you have another option aside from have to throw 7 passes to get it to Embiid. So I think like a competent lead.
So just surround Joel Embiid with shooters and you're set.
Stop saying that. I don't know. I don't know. Who do you think would get more?
I think Simmons.
I don't give who fucking cares? They're not going to do it. They're not going to come in there and trade everyone right away.
Answer.
It's not going to happen. No one's going to offer value. It's going to be it's going to be Andre Miller and Joe Smith and a bad pick. That's the fucking trade they're going to acquire. It's dumb. It's stupid. Don't fucking trade either of them. Get a coach in here that has a little bit more fucking schematics. Brett has just totally folded the last couple years. Like just really. I don't know if Jimmy like neutered him or something. I don't know what the fuck. Guy needs to just go to the woods and stay there for a few years. Like absolutely, get out of the sun. Also, get a good like friggin' lotion situation happening.
Yeah. He does have a nice tan. It's like he's already on vacation. Yeah, I was impressed.
Too much.
Late in the game, the Celtics were starting to pull away, and he called a timeout. And I was like, "Hey, good job. Brett Brown's still coaching." I kind of figured that he'd be ready to get out of there.
Well, I tell you what, make no mistake, he's ready. There's no way he's not ready to walk away. Maybe not. He'll coach his ass off until the end of the playoffs. But when they fire him, I think he'll be fucking fine with it. Honestly.
Oh, he definitely will. You can tell even in the post game interviews he's giving. Like most guys coming out of a playoff loss sound pretty weathered and like beaten down and give like 2 or 3 word answers. Brett is like super matter of fact as he's explaining what's going on with the team, and it's really entertaining because it's like a nice glimpse of where he's at mentally.
I'll tell you what, it'll be nice when that does happen, when he is relieved. I want to do like a tribute to him. Like I want to talk about all the good he did here, and you can't do it until he gets fired. So I kind of would he's had an unprecedented run here in what he's done. There's just no coach in NBA history who has been around for something like this. And I think like it'll be nice to be able to. It's sort of like when somebody dies or like gets traded, you could be nice to him, you know?
The fucking frustrating thing about this whole thing is that people are going to be people will use this and the way the team has what the team has turned into as an indictment on the process. And they're just so fucking stupid. It's like if you collect a bunch of money doing a certain thing and then you turn around and then you just like set the money on fire. The idea of collecting the money in the first place was not the problem. It was the setting of the money on fire that was actually the issue there. And so they're going to be like, well, process was wrong. We were right the whole time. Friggin' Chris Palmer, whoever the fuck said that Evan Turner was the best player in the league. Or anybody, any host of names that were saying that this was a dumb idea from the beginning will say like, yeah, see, I was always right. I was always fucking right. You guys are morons. And it's the problem is that context is such an issue with people is that they just don't have it. It's these national reporters that pay attention to like 8% of the league at any given time and think that they know everything about everything. And then they're just like, and here's my genius take is that it actually should have been, it wasn't the right call to begin with. And that's what they should have done.
Okay.
It's just like people are fucking stupid and I'm just so tired of it. I'm fucking tired of it the whole time. And the siren's going off. I just want to like hang up right now. I was so close to this fucking hit. My fucking hot take is I'm fucking out of here.
Listen,
Wait.
I can't advocate for people to go watch this on YouTube because I've never watched a podcast on YouTube before. But
There's a lot of moments that are good on the YouTube.
I mean, like, I'm watching Mike. It's literally a black screen, and then every 90 seconds you'll see like a glimpse of his face, as if he's like reporting live from a cave here or a fucking bomb shelter, and just screaming about the national media, none of whom have really invoked the process at all. But you'll note that
Michael Lee just tweeted the Sixers intentionally punted away 4 years to
Wait,
get this.
oh,
who did?
boy.
Who did?
Michael Lee.
Michael Lee of The Athletic, who used to be our fucking
Friend
sponsor.
of mine, great guy. Yeah, no, it's tough, man.
There's a million of those
All right,
people.
hold on. I wanted to tell Sharp about something, but actually it's an appropriate, we have one sponsor thing to do here, but it's appropriate for Sharp because Sharp is a lawyer now, which is, and the sponsor is Kornblau and Kornblau, our official law firm. So one day, when you become a grown-up, like a real lawyer, as opposed to whatever the fuck you're doing now, you get
I'll get on Kornblau's level. That's the goal.
you get on Kornblau's level. We got an email. First of all, it was like 7 paragraphs of just flames about the Sixers. But then the email said, now that my rant is over, I just wanted to mention that I reached out to Kornblau the other day because I had a drunk driver drive into my house. Of course, the dude didn't own a car or have his own insurance, so it looks like I might have been stuck with the bill. I also had a similar situation last month, but it involved a drunk driver hitting my fiance's parked car. I emailed him the situation. He asked for my number. He called me the next day. He gave me lots of great advice about what the next step should be. He even talked a little bit about this dog shit team we supposedly love. He was extremely nice and helpful and a really good example of the type of community you guys have created. Appreciate all you guys do. Let's tear it down and try to win again by 2025. So Kornblau and Kornblau has been helping out our listeners for like 2 years now. Fucking love them. The premier boutique personal injury law firm in the Delaware Valley. He's there to help you. Not one of these big fucking, referral shops that Sharp probably works at. Like a real law firm. It's Kornblau, his mom, and a bunch of other Kornblaus. If you get hurt at all, don't be a hero. However you're hurt, call Kornblau, send him an email. It doesn't cost you anything. Or if you have another problem, like a drunk driver drove into your fucking house, he could probably help you with that too. 215-576-7200 to ask for Adam, or email kornblau@kornblauandkornblau.com. Adam Kornblau, the official law firm of the process. Okay, Sharp. Something new has happened, obviously, you see with Mike. There's the darkness, there's the anger, but he had a tweet the other night that was misunderstood by several people. And he usually doesn't get mad at the responses to tweets, but he's been very...
People are fucking stupid.
yeah.
Tired of it. Can't deal with it anymore.
So we're entering like, a new era of Mike where I may have to be like the positive one on the podcast. And I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know how we're going to do that.
And Mike, I don't know how self-aware you are, so you may take offense to this, but when Mike gets upset, it's not like an adult getting upset. It's like a 10-year-old like throwing his trucks across the room and screaming at the top of his lungs. Like, that is the essence of what I'm hearing from Mike right now, and I love it.
You took my trucks, by the way. I never got those back.
Look, whatever it takes to get you through this rock bottom phase. I listened to the first half of the podcast earlier this week. Mm-hmm. Incredibly dark, maybe the darkest I've heard you guys since the Jahlil Okafor pick.
Yeah,
and,
that was a dark pod. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious, like, were you rooting for the Sixers tonight, or are you now just like ready to sort of hit eject and move on to like the love emails you get?
I will say, despite my righteous anger and 10-year-old boy truck throwing anger that I've displayed right now, watching this game, I was watching it like it was soccer. Like I was just like, okay. Not going to cover him. All right, no one's hitting anything.
Oh boy!
And Alyssa can attest. Alyssa has been giving me grades after each game of how I've handled myself. The first game I got like a B or a B plus. I don't want to talk about my grade for game 2. And game 3, I got an A+.
Wow.
Good.
I didn't do anything. Didn't raise my voice. I never thought they were going to win. Just sitting there, mostly quiet. I doubt I was pleasant to be around, but I certainly wasn't actively, fucking shit up. So
one thing watching the game tonight that really entertained me is like, and the Sixers played a decent game. They were pretty close. They easily could have won, but there were like 10 different times throughout the game when they just gave like the laziest closeouts imaginable. And it was like Embiid, Horford had one of those. And I was like, wow, like these guys, I mean, they're hanging in there, but God, they are ready to go home.
Mm-hmm. Dumb team, bad passers, generally. Everything about it is wrong.
And nobody likes each other. It turns out it's hard to win.
Don't agree
way.
with that. I actually don't agree with that. I don't think
they dislike each other, but I don't know that they actively give a shit about each other. That would be my,
Kyle O'Quinn gives a shit about everyone on this team. So if there's any sort of bench mojo, nice feelings emanating that way, Kyle O'Quinn is making it happen as best he can.
I really like Kyle O'Quinn. He made fun of my sweater once at a shoot-around. He looked at me and was like, nice sweater. You going to Christmas dinner?
Was it the pink one?
No, it was like a bright green sweater. I looked like an idiot. And it was a situation where I was like, you know what? I got to respect that. I deserve to get roasted for this sweater. So.
I noticed this from when you used to write those glowing draft profiles of shitty first round picks.
Yes.
No one that I know has been like a professional sports writer has ever been so personally affected by somebody being nice to him or even giving him attention like Kyle O'Quinn, like you were. I mean, maybe the lawyer thing is a better route for you.
Oh boy,
DeAndre Ayton, D'Angelo Russell, Markelle Fultz,
De'Aaron Fox.
Well, first of all,
he loved De'Aaron Fox.
He loved De'Aaron Fox. Oh, De'Aaron Fox's mom was so sweet to Sharp.
I was fucking right about De'Aaron Fox. DeAndre Ayton, I was
he's a
skeptical
loser.
Where I could be.
Yeah,
he's not a loser. Look. Spike said DeAndre Ayton had loser eyes, which is actually loser face. Yeah. Okay. It's a pretty decent take. It's hard to argue if you actually look at his face. But the way those profiles work, you deal with the agent, you can't just spend 3 days with some kid who, by the way, is 18 years old and then trash them a week before the draft.
Andrew Sharp bought and sold by corporate media.
I mean, I was in a tough spot. I had to profile RJ Barrett last year, and I was like,
Sucks.
I do not like this guy's game whatsoever. But he's a nice kid, and he's 18 years old, so I'm not going to trash him outright.
Well, your life is more like Mike's now in that you have a job that is not sports, and then you do the podcast that you actually charge people for. Instead of giving it free, But do you like this balance better?
I do. I'm having a lot of fun. The podcast, greatestofalltalk.com. Anyone can go subscribe. It's been a lot of fun to have a creative outlet, but not have to write 3 or 4 stories a week on Porzingis getting thrown out of the game and pretending to be outraged about that. I don't really care about some of that stuff. So the podcast gives me a way to continue to follow the league and have a lot of fun talking about it with Ben and our listeners, but not have to do all the annoying shit in media.
The thing about Sharp, and Sharp said not have to care about this stuff. Sharp has never cared about almost anything at all. And it is honestly living with Sharp for a year. What was it, a year?
Yeah.
We probably lived together for a year. Was honestly changed me as a person. I know I'm not coming across now as a guy who doesn't care about anything, but I think that it was a helpful for me, just a healthy dose of you don't have to care about that. And I took a little bit of that from Sharp. Sharp, however, truly does not and has never cared about almost anything at all.
Well, it's not that serious. None of it.
Yeah, it's not that serious. That is an important mantra for life.
I want you to bring that to law and just tell the judge, man, hey, man, I honestly could give a shit about this case.
It's actually pretty funny because coming on here, I was thinking back. I think I went on the podcast back in January when we were debuting Greatest of All Talk.
The podcast you charge for?
Exactly. And so I was thinking about it. You guys were asking me about being a lawyer. And at that point, I had started my job like 2 weeks before. I hadn't taken the bar yet. And Spike was like, are you really a lawyer? Like, that's a crock of shit. And I was on the other line being like, kind of is. Like, I don't feel like I'm a lawyer at all. I have no idea what I'm doing. But 6 months later, I'm a lot more comfortable. I have a lot more work, but I feel good about it. And we're balancing the podcast these days, too. We got playoff basketball.
I got to tell you, like, I enjoy the interaction between you and Golliver. Golliver will make me mad. You don't make me mad because you don't take much of what you say seriously, but he takes everything of what he says seriously. But I'm watching the when he got to the bubble, and he was like, I'm realizing Golliver's like a little bit like my father in a weird way. When he was in the hotel room, I guess he has some step fucking number he wants to get to. And just watching him walk back and forth in his hotel room made me want to fucking kill him. It made me so mad. I'm not like a bullier, but it made me want to bully him.
Honestly, it had been like integrated into Ben's life, I think like 9 months ago. And over the course of 9 months, I think he walked like 5,000 miles and ended up losing like 50 pounds. And so he was trying to keep that going in the bubble. And I don't blame you for getting upset at his takes either, because when I have a take, I'm like, well, maybe it's this. It's just a theory. But Ben sort of confers more authority with his takes. So when he's like aggressively wrong, it's a lot more upsetting. I try to avoid that.
I was listening to another podcast the other day, and I was just like talking back to them a little bit and going, oh, shut the fuck up. And I was wondering how often people say that to us. Time. And so if you tell us to shut the fuck up, just give us a shout, letting us know.
Yeah.
I would just love to hear it. About on average, how often I'm being told to shut the fuck up in someone's living room.
It's certainly what we all deserve. So,
dude, I got speaking like so. Mike doesn't check the email, the Rice Ricky Sanchez email. I do, and like Mike doesn't get any hate mail, but I do, and I got one. Man, and like the guy eventually, when people are really mean, I'll like just say pretty much like, hey, you should chill out. That's fucking, you're being too mean right now. And there was some guy, man, where is it? Boy, he just, for like several paragraphs, just laid right into me. I mean, it was about Ben Simmons and what I said on the last podcast about Ben Simmons, and I can't find it. But it was a lot of like, you're a fucking fraud and a phony, and you should go back to being a Knicks fan, and you have something against Ben and his family, and fuck you, and I wish you would leave the pod. And trust me, there have to be people that at least tell me to shut the fuck up. There just have to be.
There's no question there are.
Yeah.
I will be honest with you. I have really liked the subscription model for the podcast, and business has actually been great recently. But the one thing I miss is that not having a public podcast means that like the only people who subscribe to us like us enough to give us the benefit of the doubt. Mm-hmm. And I miss getting those long, like completely unhinged, angry emails because they always crack me up. Spike, I feel like it sometimes like hits a nerve with you and you just lose it on people.
Almost always.
But that's the shit that I would always get mean tweets or whatnot and just be like, well, these people are fucking off the reservation. And so I miss that in the subscription space.
Yeah, I think your takes would be more similar to mine than Ben's would be. I think you would probably get more of the, man, I'm trying to find this guy's fucking email. It was so mean. It was just... It was so mean, and I was just like,
look, you did lose it on Simmons the other night.
I did.
So I'm not surprised
But what I tried to explain to him, and by the way, I found it. The guy's name's Mike. He was like, all right.
Oh, that's right. It was me. I'm sorry. I should have said that.
He went into it, and he was like, and then at the end, he's like, all right, I have a trade for Embiid. And I'm like, whoa, hold on. It's like, here it is, coming in hot. I'm tired of Spike having the worst takes and being the most anti-Ben Simmons person in the Philadelphia area. The things he says about Simmons are truly embarrassing. Yes, he has not developed a three yet, but he's one of the most athletic players in the league, one of the best defenders in the league, one of the best playmakers of the league, one of the best passers, has some of the best court vision, is amazing in transition, is an excellent rebounder, leads the league in steals, almost gets real triple-doubles on the regular, not Westbrook ones, and so on. It's so infuriating and makes Spike sound either biased or like someone doesn't understand how basketball is played. It is embarrassing. Go back to being a Knicks fan. You hate the Sixers and only like Embiid. You're the epitome of the terrible Philadelphia fan that everyone around the country mocks, and you perpetuate a horrible stereotype. Spike should frankly quit the Ricky and continue doing that hacky shit on WIP.
Wow.
And then he levels Embiid, and then and then he levels my dad and me, and I was like, bro, you didn't need to be personal about me and my dad. And he was like, you're right. I'm sorry. Thank you for doing the pod. I have Ricky merch.
Wow. Like, that is an incredible twist at the end.
Yeah. So, and he, then he proposed, I might as well do this. He proposed the Sixers the Sixers trade Joel Embiid and Josh Richardson to the Kings for De'Aaron Fox, Marvin Bagley, and Buddy Hield, which is a fucking terrible trade. And then there's
Guy sends you a mean email and you give him like a quarter of the podcast.
Look, that's why people keep sending mean things. It's because I'll do that.
Oh boy. Can I ask you does it ultimately come down to which star can bring back more whenever you do end up trading them?
No.
Because they're both pretty much I would say they're clearly imperfect right now, not only together but even individually. Like, I don't know how you look at those guys and be like, that's the guy I want to build around, because they both have those glaring flaws.
Sure, they both absolutely need to get better. No one would say that they don't need to get better. And I think my issue with building around Embiid is can you in the modern NBA build your offense around a post-up heavy center? And so
look, like earlier today, we were talking about it on my podcast, and I was like, you know what?
The one that people have to pay for?
Fuck you. Okay. I was thinking about it. If I were a contender who actually had stuff to give to the Sixers, I don't know if I would. And I want Embiid to win, and I would actually be entertained if he were able to carry the Sixers to the finals one year. But if I were like the Warriors and had one move to make with the second half of Steph's prime, I don't know if I would feel that great about betting on who Embiid is going to be for the next 4 or 5 years. And building an offense around him is like legitimately really tricky these days.
But we were talking.
But that's why I wouldn't. I'm saying I would not build an offense around him. I think the best version of the Sixers is one where Embiid spends 70% of his energy on the defensive end, and he is an anchor to your defense, and you just let him focus on that. And occasionally you give him the ball in the post. Sometimes you put him in some pick and pops here and there, but for the most part, he is not responsible for carrying your offense. And I think Ben can be very instrumental in obviously your transition game, and obviously needs to, of course, get better as a shooter. But if he starts operating from the elbow and starts being a screen and roll guy, because Ben is not that, or Embiid is not that guy, you just need legitimate offensive dynamic guard play that can score at 3 levels and that can be quick enough to penetrate and get to the rim. And they just don't have it. And so they couldn't have built a worse team around these guys.
It really sucks because the Fultz idea was the right idea. That's exactly who they needed.
That's
right.
You
know what? If you're going to, you know what's amazing is then you should have just traded that pick for Jimmy Butler. You know what I mean? Like if you were.
But having a superstar on a cost-controlled rookie contract that you could then max out is the most valuable thing in sports.
Jimmy is not the shooter that Fultz was supposed to be, and that was Fultz's shooting would have helped give everybody else a little bit more room to breathe. Whereas Jimmy, when he was out there last year, it was like everybody just fucking throwing rocks at the rim, and somehow it worked. They easily could have won the title last year.
But no. By the way, Fultz has hit more playoff threes than our dear Ben. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. And I agree. And the thing about Embiid not being the primary offensive option, is that he could still easily score 20 or 22 points a game.
Of course.
On
Yeah,
free
of
throws,
course.
threes. And like, look, even his post-ups that you're not making, if you have the right team, those post-ups, first of all, those post-ups are pretty efficient anyway. They become even more efficient if there's fewer of them and
That's right.
there's a better team around him.
He's a little bit like I want to get a supporting cast around him so you can use him a little bit like prime Marc Gasol, where he can do a lot of things on offense. He's anchoring a defense. He's obviously better than him, but in the idea that like you don't need to. Marc Gasol used to be the offense in Memphis, and you don't want that. Obviously, no one would want that.
And look,
so you have to build a team around where you can just like let him be predominantly defensive. That's what he likes doing anyway. And I think he knows. I think Embiid knows. Like that's why he's not the guy that commands the ball a lot on offense, because I think he knows. Look, it's just genuinely not that efficient because they're going to double me and they're going to smash hard, and I'm not that good of a ball handler to get it out quick.
That's interesting. I think if he does in fact know that and would embrace that role, that could make a lot of sense. He's so skilled offensively that it would be pretty depressing to turn around and be like, "You're Marc Gasol now. Take 8 shots." But what you're saying,
but he took 8 shots. He
me.
took 8 shots like game 2, pretty much, because Josh Richardson was dancing around, shooting everything.
Well,
Yeah.
Like the problem is, I don't know how they get that guard now. Like that's the big conundrum now, right? Is like, okay, we know what they need, but
I mean, they don't. The experiment is over. It's like it's time to blow it up.
I disagree.
I'm
I think
not
there is,
saying that as a troll. I honestly think like they're out of moves at this point. I don't know what.
I just genuinely don't agree with that at all. I think it is always with a legitimate front office that has any sense of a bigger picture. You can look around and say, we can get out from under Horford and have additional shooting in this lineup, to where you're not counting on Tobias to be like your number 1 3-point option. You're not counting him to penetrate and be pick and roll. It is other people's jobs. And so if that's Eric Gordon, obviously like not excellent, but better than Al Horford, that opens up really quickly. And then there's a bunch of good point guard play in this draft that you can take multiple stabs at somebody that you all of a sudden have a lot of guys that could be valuable to playing, basketball in 2021, which they currently have no players that really fit that.
I don't think they can do it with some guy in the draft. Like I don't. This is so tenuous. Like this whole thing is tenuous. They have to, like.
Well, and I think
they can trade Horford though. I actually do believe they can trade Horford. The question is like, does the team that wants him, like, look, Buddy Hield can shoot, but Buddy Hield is not the answer to our like issues. I think it makes them better, but I still think at the end of games they still have the same fucking problem. Like we're going to have the same problem in that I don't know who's creating offense for them. So
yeah, I would also say that it's been like only 4 years, but it feels like it's been 10 years, and I think you guys are part of that. The fans are part of that. Like everybody has been so invested in this team that like the continual letdowns and like steps backward, I think just it kind of make everybody exhausted, and that's part of the reason.
Because they've reset the team like 14 times in a 3-year span.
Yeah, no, I know, but I just think like Embiid and Simmons together, like it may just be healthier for like everyone's mental health to like try something.
Well, mental
new.
health's out the window. That's already gone. And so that's why we're doing
You're
a new front
in
office.
bomb shelter right now.
We want a new coaching staff, and Ben and Joel, with multiple times last year and then also the year before, had some of the best offenses in basketball.
Yeah.
With Redick and Dario and Covington around them. And then Jimmy as well also was successful in its own ways, despite the fact they didn't have shooting. So like they're talented enough to lift a what is on paper not great offense to be like certainly good enough to contend at a high level. This team was just so hamstrung by incompetence that they couldn't even how good they were still couldn't break through that.
Interesting.
Sharp, I have to give you credit. I feel like you have turned him back into Hopeful Mike. Like
he can't help but disagree with me. He kind of reminds me of where I was in like 2017. I was like, you know what? Like, no matter what mistakes have been made, John Wall, Otto Porter, and Bradley Beal have a high ceiling. And if those guys stay healthy, I don't know. They can do some things. It's like, I hope for your sake, Mike, that you're correct and that the Sixers will get it together next year and that this whole season has just been a weird aberration.
All right, I want to die. I'm going to go through it.
All right. Well, you can subscribe to Andrew Sharp's podcast. You're going to have to pay for it every single month, as opposed to this podcast, which is free, and you just have to listen to some great local sponsors at greatestofalltalk.com. All right.
Okay, next podcast, Spike's going to surprise me with the kid at summer camp who tried to drown me. What another fun surprise.
What I love about this is it was all completely organic. Spike hit me up at like 8 p.m. and was like, look, this guy just bailed. So
yeah, this wasn't like the long, but in fairness, I did once try to get you to show up to a live pod unannounced that you weren't able to do. So
yeah,
I have wanted to surprise Mike with you before, but this was... all right. We will talk to you on Sunday. Lonzo Zoe will be joining us on Sunday after Game 4, which may be
last game.
Hopefully,
pack it up.
Fingers crossed.
Let's get the fuck out of here.
Are you down with TTP?
Yeah, lick face.
If you don't fuck with me, then I won't fuck with you. If you don't fuck with me, then I won't fuck with you.
If you don't fuck with me, then I won't fuck with you.
If you don't fuck with me,
Then I won't fuck with you.
but if you fuck with me,
Time for plan B.